Okay, we will go ahead and get started. So welcome to our early Echo monthly session. We're glad that you are here with us today. If you, again, will just put your name and contact information into the chat. That just helps us know everybody on the call and get to know each other. We are recording today's session. We store those on our Canvas page as well as our YouTube channel. So you are always welcome to go back and review those, share those out with families that you work with, coworkers, anybody that you feel like would benefit from those. We are hoping that Echo is an interactive community. So asking your questions in chat, reaching out to people when they have good ideas and you want follow up on it. If you're comfortable turning on your camera so that we can see who's on the call. And again, if you have a case narrative or a case that you want to discuss with all these amazing people on the call, please consider submitting a case and letting us brainstorm and talk about it. It's a great way to get great resources as well as just to learn from everybody that's on the call. When we're talking about our families or the situations that we are in, please remember to protect their individual privacy. So trying to de-identify any of their information. If you have any questions, you can reach out to a hub member. They all have an asterisk in front of their name, so they are easier to find in chat, or you can reach out to me and we'll be able to help you with that. Key components of an Echo session are typically that we have a didactic speaker, then we talk about a case presentation, and then continuing to discuss those cases to bring that professional networking. Today, our Echo session is going to be a little bit different. As a hub team, we all thought that it would be really important and helpful since our focus this last few months have really been on having those difficult conversations and hearing things from a family's perspective. So today we are really trying to increase that professional networking and gaining your guys' insights and learning from each other on the call. So we're hoping that it works out really well. So if it doesn't, give us that feedback in the survey and we will never try this way again. So again, renaming and raising your hand. Hopefully we all know how to do that. To get our certificate of attendance, we do ask that you fill out the surveys. Those surveys are how we take this information back to our funders and share all the amazing things that are happening with this. And we ask that you do that survey before we send out that credit for attendance. We store everything on Canvas, so if you would like an invite to our Canvas page, please just email earlyecho@usu.edu and we will get you access to that Canvas page. It is another way to connect with people that have been on these sessions. You can ask a question on that discussion board and get questions and answers and all of those things back with other participants. And just another plug for those case studies. Sometimes those are harder to share and we don't always feel comfortable in sharing those. So if you have a case that you would like presented in this Echo, please reach out to me and I will be glad to walk through your case with you so that you can get all those amazing resources. So again, like I said, today's session, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. And so I'm just going to do a little review of some of the things that we've been talking about so far. So we've had this conversation from Vicki Wilkins, who really talked with us about navigating some of those difficult conversations that we as care providers or professionals have to do. And one of the things that we've gotten some feedback on, and really that was stood out to a lot of us, is that it's really providing that difficult information. And so when we're thinking about that, making sure that we're getting those things ready, that we understand what the parent knows about their diagnosis, about the situation, and then inform them. Being as concrete as we can when we are working to inform them of what is going on, and then demonstrating empathy to the family so that they know what are some of those next steps. I think that's really helpful as we're talking with families, with different things. What are some of those next steps that are happening? And then we also had the Utah Parent Center come and talk to us, which is an amazing resource. And every state has the equivalent of the Parent Center. Rebecca, one of our hub members, had dropped in a bunch of things from North Dakota that you guys have that is the equivalent of the Utah Parent Center. And those are on our website. So if anybody doesn't have those, both the Utah Parent Center and the North Dakota is on our website underneath resources. But some of the things that they really talked about was, again, validating the parents' perspective of that, helping them understand what that diagnosis is and what that means. Helping the family know where to look for resources. Even just earlier, when we were, before the call started, Pat and I were talking about that we just need to sometimes find parents those resources or those connections. How do we connect family to family? Because I don't have that lived experience of a complex, medically complex child. But I do know other families with that. And so while I can give information about the diagnosis, I might not be able to give that family perspective. And the last thing they really emphasized was for those parents to remember to take care of themselves. I think that's always really important to think about it. And even as providers, we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves when we're working with those families, and remembering some of those self-care techniques and strategies to prevent that burnout with it. And then we had some amazing families come and talk to us and shared their experience. And one of the things that my big takeaway was is that sometimes they are just in that survival mode. And so they appreciate our strategies and appreciate what we're providing to them, but they also just want to have us be that listening ear, listening to them and not judging them because they haven't done a strategy we've shared with them, because they're just trying to survive with that. And as parents on the call, we all kind of know that some moments you are just in that survival mode. My kids are fed and still alive by the end of the day when I have them, then that's really, we're doing good. The other thing that really spoke to me was the mom that was from North Dakota, and her doctor she had not been informed yet that her child was born with Down syndrome, and the doctor just blurted it out, and she was not prepared to hear that. And so having her approach of saying that words and approach matter to all families. And so thinking about that, and then again, meeting them where they are at. So as we kind of thought about this as our hub team, one of the big things that we wanted to kind of have a discussion, because we get a lot of feedback on the surveys about that we would love to be able to network, that case studies are so helpful, but we want to be able to discuss things. And so we wanted to talk about networking and have more of an in-depth discussion, because there are such amazing people on this call that have such great ideas. And, you know, that's my favorite thing, is learning from other people, knowing how does Pat share a resource with a family, or how does, oh, sorry, my screen just freaked out here for a minute. What does Rebecca's resource, what's one of her go-to resources? Or, you know, how do I navigate that with families? And I think that's one really great way to learn from each other. Lots of times I always get this thing from some of my colleagues of, well, it seems like you know everybody. Well, no, I really know one person, and they know somebody else, and they know somebody else. And so by continuing to network with people, I learn from all of my amazing colleagues and how to promote that. So I think that networking and that creating that professional kind of network within my area, or what is a resource that somebody shares. And so that's what we're going to hopefully talk about in our breakout groups. So we presented 3 questions, and in the breakout groups, the hub members will be the ones who move around. So when you see me, we are going to be discussing how do you mention conversations with families when you notice something about a child, something in a child. So how do you bring those difficult conversations up? Pat is going to be talking about what are some of those ways you network, or ways that you wish you had the ability to network with others, because sometimes within our everyday work, we don't always have that ability, and how can we create those? And then Shelby and Rebecca are going to have you guys talk about a time that you were successful in having those hard conversations. So we're going to go through all of those 3 questions and spend about 20 minutes each one, and then we'll come back as a large group. Unmute. Welcome back. All right, do we have everybody back, Shayna, or are we still missing one group?
Looks like everyone's back. Let me double check.
Okay, well,
People
no, they're probably all back.
Yeah, it looks like a few groups are still coming in.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining this one. I know this one was a little bit different than what we typically do, but I loved it. With my question, I learned a lot of really great ideas and resources. So I'm going to go over a few of those resources that we had. So my question was, how do we have those conversations with families when you notice something in a child? And a lot of people really talked about asking the parents if they notice something and then respond to it. A few other people really mentioned that they like to do a screener and then bring up those concerns after they've done that screener with it. And then being very direct and provide the information. So not that you have to be direct about the diagnosis or the things you're seeing, but not being like, oh, I am, like kind of hemming and hawing about your conversation for that. So I really loved all your guys' thoughts and resources that you shared. Pat, what about you? You had your question was networking.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation with all 3 different groups. And I think the majority of people said that they networked with their own EI program or with their own group. And that's where they got their power, or that's where they got their information. And I think that's valuable that you have that resource. I guess parent groups came out. Denise is running a fabulous parent group for children who have to belong to PIP. They can't just be, you know, multiply handicapped, and they have to be involved with PIP, but so we'll.
No, I'll take them. Just give them my email. Anybody's welcome.
Well, I love your equipment too. You guys bring out the best equipment that we have no access to. But I think that to me was powerful. But I think the lasting impression was from Leo. Leo said he wished he had networked more in college, that he wished he'd gone up and asked his professors questions. He also said he needs to get off his computer and get out there and meet the people. And I think we've become such a Zoom society. Like we've become such a, there's a nice two-dimensional face staring away at me, that getting out there and touching and feeling and asking the questions, I think is huge. It's huge. So I think, yeah, my goal as a networking goal is to just stretch, you know, be afraid, ask the question. And if that really smart guru shuts you down, they shut you down. But you've done it, you've stepped out, which I think is huge. I think that's huge.
It is, yeah.
Thanks, Leo.
Hey, and so Shelby, your guys' question was a successful time that they had a conversation.
Yeah, and I've got like a page and a half of notes because we had such good conversations and so many different, I guess, phrases that people use to like bring up the hard conversations that we really liked. I don't know, are we really going in depth here or?
You can give one or two ideas or.
Okay. One that I really liked was I will always be honest with you. So it kind of already, like when you're starting with that family, you set that expectation of like, I will always be honest with you, whether it's good or bad or anywhere in between. So I think that's a really nice way to kind of put your foot in the door that way. Like you're not really specifically talking about anything at that point because you don't really know the child that well. And then let's see, even just asking like, how can I help you? Or if like, are you looking for a diagnosis? I really liked that too, because, you know, some families are looking for a diagnosis and some families aren't. They just want to know what's wrong and work on that. So I thought that was a really good one.
Yeah.
And then some other ones, we're just trying to answer your questions and find answers to help us help you, kind of a phrase. And I really like that too, because it took the focus away from the diagnosis and more on how we can help you and getting the answers to help your family and your child instead of let's just get this diagnosis, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Those are great ones. And I mean, I love these things because it's a new way to say that. I liked also your one right there where you just said, I will always be honest, setting that really up front, you know, I think that's a great approach. So we will compile these. So if everybody wants to hear or learn what everybody is sharing and it wasn't in your breakout group, they will be on Canvas. So you can always go back and access those. Again, thank you all for joining today's conversation. I thought it was super helpful. I had great discussions within our groups and thought they were really good. Our next part will be going over, we'll start our assistive technology session. So we will be talking about assistive technology, low vision, alternative and augmentative communication, more than just pictures, and then some mobility and positioning assistive technology. So hopefully you guys will be joining us for our next part series on that. And again, thank you all for joining today's session. Great discussions. You guys are all amazing. Enjoy the rest of your day.